Somebody here smells really bad garlic, it's me, I apologize. I did go to the co-op and they had this stuff that's really good, but.
And I told him not to get it and he did it anyway.
Call the work order to session. Today's March 20th. Who wants to go first?
What's this land right here?
What's the one?
What's this land, I guess, there's a,
Do you know what that is?
it's where Richard come.
Do you know what the unserviced land is that we're?
Canadian Pacific Road, it's got.
Yeah.
Which one is it? Oh, that's a quick question.
No, I've read it.
Oh. I do have a question on the finance whenever you're done, Casey.
Sending notes this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike's not here, so. Yeah, no, we can cover this. Okay.
Well, I have a question about the year-to-date report, but I can wait for Richard, or you want to do it? There he is.
Use of some Canadian secrets right away. Very.
Gordon Bike Path.
Gordon Bike Path.
Oh, that's the.
On the backside of the building.
Okay.
It's their land.
Okay,
One patch.
gotcha.
We have to pay that encroachment fee.
I just,
Flags for encroachment.
yeah, I just brought that up.
Thanks, Richard.
Just brought
Elizabeth
it
is
up.
waiting for you. too.
Just brought
I
it.
have a question about the report in our folder. The finance.
I
report.
signed those, so that's what make that.
The year-to-date.
If you see my signature on it.
So I'm looking at expenditures over revenues in comparison to February 2024. And there is a pretty sizable difference. So the report that you gave us, actual general fund expenditures, 3 million and some change, revenue, 1.9 million. And just showing a net result of negative 1,200,000.
Versus the general fund.
Yes, general fund is what I'm looking at. And it's a sharp difference from last year at the same time. Wondered if,
Okay,
You could-
look at the details and get you an answer on that. I don't have the report with me. I should, maybe Casey went to grab it,
oh, okay,
but I get you an answer on it.
okay. So it just seems like a pretty sizable difference from a year ago, and wondered,
From memory, I know the biggest difference was, I think, the library had a giant revenue increase over last year. But I think it's just because of the timing of some of the revenue that's come in.
yep, I see that as well.
Yeah. So I'll get you an answer on that.
Okay, yeah, I would like that, thank you. I had a question about, the email we received regarding the AP Triton report that is apparently going to be presented next week.
They're gonna be doing an interview.
Oh, it's an interview.
Yeah.
We're going to do the county building. This is still back down.
Okay, so it's not a finalized report yet.
The process, and I just counted. When I actually come to class. To do what it is.
Okay. Do you know, because this is something authorized by the council quite a while ago. Do you have any indication from them when they'll wrap this up, when they'll have something to share? Do you, any idea?
I think late spring, in the summer. We had to hang up with some of another.
And how will that be shared with us as council? Is it just going to be a printed report? Are they going to come to the council meeting and present so we can ask them questions?
I'd have to review.
specific, so we have subject matter experts come from all over.
I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I would prefer a presentation by this company rather than just a paper report. I'd like both. I want a paper report because I like to have the document, but I really would benefit from seeing presentation from them and have the opportunity to ask questions. Especially because we joint partnered in the payment for this company. And I'm sure the public and the council are eager to get the information and the findings. So I don't know if the rest of the council feels that way, but I really would like that opportunity, even if it is just from Zoom.
I'm good with that. I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Questions about the green fleet policy, and I shot them over to Alicia earlier today, including everybody. And I'm understanding that this has been talked about a lot, so I'm kind of the new person at the table. So I apologize if my questions were redundant. And Alicia, maybe if you don't mind coming up and just maybe hitting some of the highlights that I've outlined here.
Yeah. And just before I jump into it, I just want to make sure that you all have a copy of the draft resolution that is supposed to go along with this agenda item. With that shared out, okay, because the draft, between the draft resolution and the memo, I really tried to go over the highlights, but I understand the nuances of trying to understand how we got to this policy. So it is definitely tied into the New York State Climate Smart Communities Action Program. But with that said, backing up, I just want to give a little extra background to your benefit, and if James was here, to his benefit as well, because the two of you haven't been on the council for the duration of this grant, and Julie is probably a little bit newer than, and David. You two are the next newest people to the Climate Smart Communities program and this specific grant. So back in 2019, the city signed on to adopt a climate smart community initiative. And that initiative is in alignment with New York State Climate Smart Community Actions. And part of the initiative was for the city to, and one of the first action items was for the city to appoint a climate task force, which we have, and that is a reoccurring resolution each year to reappoint a chair to the task force and basically double down on that initiative. But then, so that happened, and then in 2020, the city was awarded a 5-year grant for climate action planning. And that was contracted through New York State DEC. So the deadline for that grant contract is this month. And I have submitted an extension for that. But the fleet efficiency policy is an element to the completion of that grant contract. And that's like number 5 on the task list for tasks to complete towards the full completion of the grant. Earlier on, ahead of getting to this fleet efficiency policy, we did compile a greenhouse gas inventory for internal operations and completed calculations along with that and stakeholder interviews, which fed into a government operations climate action plan, excuse me. And even further back, ahead of this grant, the climate task force, and I believe with the help, when Counselor Gibbs was on the task force, the city adopted a green fleet, and I always butcher this. It was the initial fleet efficiency policy, a green fleet and procurement policy, which set out the same, essentially the same goals. So there's a lot of different layers to get to this policy. So the policy is in alignment with the climate task force vision and the climate smart communities initiative that the city signed on for. But then it also is a requirement to complete this grant contract.
That we signed up for years ago.
Yep.
So it
Yes.
wasn't a mandate, it was just that we signed up for, we're mandated by the contract that we signed to say we would do it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we agreed to the scope of work
Okay.
5 years ago. And so through time, I have provided a series of updates. The first time probably the council saw this fleet efficiency policy, this revised draft was a year ago.
Okay.
So when I was moving the government operations climate action plan to adoption, so March 25th, I think, of last year. But then I took that draft and had to get it through DEC for their approval. And that took about 6 months. So from July to this March. I've been back and forth, just tweaking the policy to get their approval. And finally got their approval to move forward to council adoption.
Okay.
So, and then last meeting, I tried to provide an update and just get it on your radars, but I understand there was a lot to cover in that. And I've just been trying to update the council and be in as best of communication as I can with the department heads as well. Through time, though I was in greater communication with the department heads, developing the fleet inventory and going back and forth in questions with what their fleet requirements are. But ultimately, the implementation of this policy and the procurement of fleet vehicles really comes down to department need and what's available at that point in time, what we can source, and then the cost of that and what our budget looks like. The state has been really good to date at providing grant opportunities for the purchase of fleet vehicles, and we've gotten, right now, the city has 45,000 in rebates. We're waiting for that contract to come through, but those rebates are for the purchase of 6 EVs already. That we have in our fleets now. It's not, those EVs aren't included in the inventory because those post-date the inventory that I created. And then we also have 125 in funding for the purchase of 3 more EVs, which we just completed the last purchase order for last meeting. So in total, the city we have 6 EVs on fleet and another 6, I believe, ordered. So I think, I believe that MLD has 4 on order in addition to maybe 1 hybrid right now. And then we have another on order for water filtration and wastewater recovery plant. So we're really making huge strides to achieving those goals already.
Yeah, I mean, we've already met the 2025 goals, so
Pretty much,
that's good.
yep.
And it's the 23 vehicles by 2028. I mean, are we committing to all of these goals that are here, like to the letter? Or is it good enough that we show due diligence that we're making an effort?
It's a commitment to ourselves,
Right.
essentially.
Okay.
So, yes, it is a commitment, but that commitment is do the best you can. And it's basically an outline decision matrix for purchasing and a guide to try and make the best purchasing decision. as we can at that point in time. But it's not a hard, fast mandate. So, and again, this is just, it's an update, a slight revision of the initial policy that we've had since 2022. And we still have, I know, the mayor shared some of Mike Bassett's concerns because he's going out to, he wants to purchase some heavy duty vehicles, which the technology, the EV and hybrid technology definitely has not caught up with. So that's why there is an exception on the bottom of that draft policy. It's for those
The
situations.
state has some proposed guidelines too that I have.
Right, and this does not take into consideration this state guidelines. It actually precedes the state guidelines.
Right.
So, I hope that answers.
It does. Thank you
all
for
of
letting
your
me ask it.
questions.
I just want to say the explanation I just got from her on the floor, 10 times better than in an email. That's an FYI. I mean, I get really good explanations in the emails, granted, but what you just gave, 10 times better than an email. So thank you for that.
This is bold. I responded to Amy's question.
You did,
Line by
but
line.
I just
It's
enjoyed that
almost
much more.
essentially what I provided to her in an email, but I can understand, and we all learn differently, we all absorb information differently, so I can.
And
Well, my goal of emailing is so that everybody gets their questions ahead of time. I mean, I think it's hard when it's the first time you're hearing it is on the floor right now. And I mean, everybody's been very good about getting us answers, but
Mhm.
I think if you have ideally more than just a few hours, so I apologize for dropping this on you. But
Right.
in theory, if we can look at it ahead, get you questions. And then also, Julie, to your point, is to go ahead and ask them here. I think it serves both purposes and
Absolutely.
makes it really.
Just in case the public wanna,
Right.
Right,
want
and
just-
so again, this was presented a year ago, you weren't here. And I try to make every effort to, when things like this come up, to provide memos to give an overview. Perhaps the memo I provided was too truncated. And then I've gone back and forth with the resolutions I drafted, like thinking, gosh, I really need to scale them down because they can take up pages. But when I provide those to you, it's so you can piece things together. But if those aren't appropriate tools to help provide an overview, I will reorient to try and meet the needs for understanding.
Listening to your explanation, I mean, I'm looking at it, and I'm following along as
Yeah.
you're saying it, so I think I just have questions about some of what it means.
Sure,
Which-
sure, yeah. So if I need to shift the form of communication, I'm
I mean, I
happy
think
to do that. And sometimes just having a conversation helps to clarify. So.
And there's an email Mike said gets really upset about EVs.
he does.
He's
Well-
picturing electric plow trucks. So we had to talk about.
Maybe we should get him one
yesterday.
for Christmas. and
We should,
So it's telling anybody.
right.
Thank you, no, that's very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about this is for you, Lieutenant Trombley. The hypodermic needle report, have we got? Was just very concerned when I saw that there's a sizable number on Bailey Avenue. Now, I think if I'm remembering correctly, I think last month, one of the reports we had, or maybe it was before that, where there seemed to be several hotspots in the city. And some of them are like under bridges and, you know, parking lots and things like that. So when I saw this, I became concerned because I don't recall that location being on a previous report. I don't know if I'm wrong, but
So it could just be, could just be that someone just dropped a cache of needles, and that it's a one-time event, it's not a constant thing. but we are evaluating. Currently, the south end, there's several areas that there's these caches of needles, and there isn't a repository, so there's specific repositories in certain parts of the city, low lit areas. So that people can't be seen dropping them is really the aid there. But there's nothing on the north end, and there's nothing on the south, and they're more center city or downtown. So we're evaluating that in real time. I'm trying to draw it up. I apologize. Does that help with the? I can't do what I'm trying.
No, that's okay. I'm not expecting you to go from any kind of memory, but I just thought it was worth discussing because I was alarmed by the location. There's a school there and,
It's alarming the number of needles too. There's a lot of needles around. You know, I think it's important we look and get these repositories going too.
Yes.
I agree, but I'm just gonna use the city beach as an example. I love to walk the city beach all year round. And when I walk the sand and there are dirty needles all over the sand, even though we have a repository on the beach, I'm glad that it's there and I'm glad that we're making them available, but it's also pretty obvious that it isn't really necessarily impacting all the needles that we're finding. And the fact that they are found at all in large quantities, this is really upsetting to me. It's kind of an alarm cry. I've been banging on that drum for several months, maybe even a couple of years now.
It's in preparation.
I'm sorry?
The narcotics plan is in preparation.
I still didn't hear you. I'm
The
sorry.
narcotics plan is in preparation.
Okay.
All of this information.
You knew where I was going.
All of this information is being gathered, collected, and we're trying to make sure that we have good data now, or at least the strong data we have now. We're able to then decipher it and then project or place, implement something, push a plan, and then how do we check if it's working or not? So what's the matrix to it? We want to make sure that the data that we're collecting and then we're putting in play, that it is worth it. It's valuable information. And the only way to do that is to have that proper plan and continually check every quarter or maybe every 6 months. Is it working? Is it not? Drugs, there is a drug problem. We all know it. I know what really scares us is the fatality rates. Narcan we've saturated the community with Narcan, and most communities have. It is causing fatalities to come down, but it doesn't mean that the drugs aren't out there and there are non-fatal overdoses, which are underreported, as we all would believe and know. So we are working on that, but we really are trying to make sure that the plan that we put in place, we can check with a matrix to see, is this working? Do we need to shift somewhere else?
Okay.
Some of this is in that thing too, because it gives us some areas that we have been making sure we have more controls in too.
Do the officers get out of their cars when they patrol the city beach?
The foot patrols have been down a little bit, human nature is, when it's cold, it's hard to get outside and walk around, but foot patrols are starting to pick back up. We have made sure to talk about it in conversations within our teams, bring them back up. Deterrence and being visible is one of the greatest and strongest deterrents. I'll use a traffic post. So if I'm sitting radar on Boynton Avenue, there really is no matrix to say what I've done, right? So I can say that if there's speed going on there, and if I sit there for a half hour, and don't pull a single car over, I can't quantify what me sitting there does. But we believe that it does deter. So the point is just getting out there and being seen.
Absolutely does. Every day I go to work, there's a trooper sitting on the median there in 2 specific spots. And I already know, I better watch my speed. I mean, it does work. People become aware of the presence and they do curb their behavior this way.
And it's not just punitive, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to come to a citation or ticket. Just being seen does cause deterrence. When the
People
boss asks, it's hard to quantify. What'd you do for an hour?
People often think it's as easy as throwing it in the garbage. Well, why don't they just throw it in the garbage? Personally, what's to say they're putting that top back on that needle? I personally don't want our DPW workers or your guys to get stuck by one of those needles. So it's not as simple as just throwing it in the garbage.
which we have dealt with, to your point, Counselor, we have dealt with that, DPW guys downtown, ladies, men and women downtown, you know, pushing garbage down, moving the garbage.
Exactly.
They have this. So there's multiple reasons for these receptacles. There's one where we were today, down by the river. And there's still needles being discarded openly, so, you know, it might be 100 feet away, but we're just not making it there.
Mhm.
But we are bringing up some of these points that you've all made, foot patrols coming up, being seen, being active. It is the true deterrence.
Thank you. Oh, and I did read your response to that complaint letter that we all got.
So would you like me to speak about?
I don't know, do we want?
That's like the third time I've got that.
Yeah.
it? So I had
Has
to acknowledge, Councilor Vaughn and
Yeah.
the mayor, I've shot me earlier on this.
Okay, well, I don't know if anybody else.
Yeah.
There was a complaint that was sent to us about the city police department using a particular towing, and I reached out to Lieutenant Trombley just before the meeting and asked if he could look into it, and he responded, he's like, already looked into it, I'm like, okay. So I don't know if,
Yes.
Mayor, I don't know if you want that addressed here, just in case, because it came through as an anonymous complaint, just in case that person is watching. Or someone is watching and saying, hey, what about that complaint? I want to know the answer, because if it was anonymous, you don't have any way to respond back. I thought it might be a good idea to bring it up.
Yeah, so not all the points I'll address, but a few of the points. The first was rocks towing. They were called from one of our accident scenes, which is jurisdiction of the city of Glasgow. Rocks towing is not on our tow list. There's only 6 services on a tow list. But it was just a human error. So the dispatcher or officer member that was sitting at the desk, when a tow was requested, there's a specific drop down. The CAD system, computer aided dispatching system that we now share countywide, has specific drop downs for Clinton County Sheriff's Department, Plattsburgh PD. So they just clicked the wrong drop down and access the county one, and rocks popped up as the next available tow. So then that was heard, I'm sure, all over radio and maybe that's where it's coming from,
Okay.
but it has been addressed. The human error has been addressed. Push some information back out to our teams just to refresh them with the knowledge. And the second part of that, I looked into valid and proper coverage. Hoffman.
So it's a valid complaint?
Nope, it's a valid tow service.
Oh, okay,
They
okay.
joined the rotation, I believe, December of last year, so 2024. There's a checklist that we have to go through. And everything was accounted for to include the insurance, which is the point that was on that, and it was proper coverage.
Thank you. So weather is going to start to warm up. And I'm wondering about the college behaviors and refuse. And I mean, I saw the report for, complaints about things left on lawns, and wondered what the forward-looking plan is for you and Joe for enforcement of,
We've done this
you know.
quite a few seasons now, this spring, just refreshing information, making contacts, being proactive, knocking on doors, letting people know whether they're off-campus college students or solar residents,
Mhm.
and just teaching residents that we do have rules and ordinances, please follow them, call if you need us. There was an uptick in some of those arrests, the open containers was one, but St. Patrick's Day just occurred, so I'd assume that.
The nice weather hits and they automatically
They do.
go ballistic.
Joe's been getting busy too. So I haven't said it now.
They covered all of them?
I'm good.
Those are all the questions I had. Thank you. I wanted to bring something up to the council. I engaged in an email exchange with Bill Tracy, and he responded to me, and then I turned around and I forwarded the email to everybody on the council just before we came here. I would really like to see more encouragement of the purchase of electric mowers. And I reached out to Bill Tracy and asked him if there, and I also did the same with Carly Leary, who is is she still our liaison? Okay, so I also reached out to Carly to ask her if she is aware, and I guess I could just pass that on to you if you know, if there are any incentive programs to incentivize people to purchase electric mowers so we can eliminate gas-powered lawnmowers in the city of Plattsburgh. So, Bill did respond, and I said, as I said, I forwarded that on to everybody else so that they can see the same thing. There's an IEEP program that offers rebates to people who purchase electric lawnmowers, and it's open until the end of this year, so September of 2025. I did not know about that. Maybe I learned it and I forgot it, but I thought that would be a really great incentive to make the city residents aware of that. Get rid of your electric mower, incentivize it through this IEEP program or any others that could possibly exist. And I wondered what would be the best way to make city residents aware of it? Is it something that could be placed on our Facebook page? Is it?
Earth Day.
I mean, it needs to be, I think it would need to be a repetitive, I think it would need to be a repetitive, like, let's just keep making everybody aware of it.
So one thing that I think could help is we've got the green task force
Mhm.
and we're trying to condense some of the committees and efforts in the task force to streamline things a little bit. But we're working towards an events and social media committee or marketing committee. And so I think getting it into the route or circulation of communications would help. So we can advertise it at all of our events potentially. I want to bring it up to the committee, but I don't see why they would say no necessarily. It would just be a matter of generating the materials. And then we could share it out on our marketing and social media sites. And then we're also partnering with the city, the community development department and community engagement and a lot of our social media and outreach efforts. And then we've got Earth Day coming up right around the corner. So I had seen a similar opportunity and I did discuss it with Mike Bissett. It didn't sound like it was feasible at this point in time for DPW to completely overhaul all of their equipment. And it seems like it's more, a decision by the department head on what the demands are and how much operational territory they cover, and whether it would be an efficient way to oversee the groundskeeping. So I've seen it done in the past. I've participated with using green equipment and landscaping, and it can be done, but there's a lot of logistics involved. And while there can be a cost savings with the initial purchase, it is more expensive when the batteries go down, and there's a lot more just more logistics involved in keeping the batteries charged and charged batteries available. So not to
Are
say
you
that
talking about municipal lawn mowing? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
That, or if you have a private fleet, a private landscaping business or something like that.
Okay.
So just, this is a long-winded response, but I think whoever the department head is overseeing those fleets, they'd want to really have a good plan and way to ensure they cover their operations. So it's not just as easy as making a purchase.
Mhm. Well, I'm thinking more along the line of the homeowner and
Right,
this
for
would,
homeowners, yeah.
yeah, I doubt most people in the city even know that this is available, and it would definitely encourage them, especially, I realize it becomes, might become a little cumbersome with a larger piece of property, but, you know, in the city, nobody has gargantuar lawns. So I would love, well, I mean, it's not like you're mowing,
You do.
you know, 10 acres of property.
No.
That's what I mean. So,
There are other things on this list, not just the lawnmower. There's a battery powered riding lawnmower for $200. There's a snow blower for $150
Right.
rebate. Like there's other rebates on this
Yeah.
list that
Right.
people might be interested in.
and this is going to expire in September of this year, so I wondered if it would be feasible at all to include this as a mailer in electric bills.
That's not.
Oop, hello?
We're sending one out May 1st for MLB, I'm not sure which one it is, it might be a 2-year-old report that gets sent out every year. About the electric usage,
Oh, okay.
Phil Tracy puts out. So we have about that for May 1st, so we're doing that one, but certainly.
And I'm only bringing it up because there would be a timeliness to this, because this is around the time people are going to start looking around for, oh, I need a mower.
Mhm.
And they're going to start mowing probably next month.
After May.
So I just think there's a timeliness to this, and the fact that there's a rebate will encourage people, myself included. And I would really like to see this pushed out citywide, so residents know about it.
If you have a link to it handy.
Yep.
Would
You
you?
want me to just forward you the whole?
Yeah,
email?
that would, yeah,
Yep,
and
I'll
then
do
I'll
that.
pass it on to the task force.
I will do that right now. I just forwarded it to you.
I have one question about, there's resolution 7.8. And it's the establishment of the management policies, it's the city beach parking system. Am I missing a page? Did it just drop off at the end, or is it complete as it is? And it's.
On the back.
It's on the back.
This one?
Where, I think I might be missing a page though. 7.8. Or 7 point, yeah. Oh.
On the back of.
Yeah, yeah, further is on. See how it just drops off with the word and, like there's something else to be said there that isn't there? I just want to know if it's meant to stop there, then that's fine. I've got it all, but I just wasn't sure if there's more to.
Yeah.
It's mysterious, but it might be complete. That's why I'm asking. It's fine either way, but. That's what I got from. Okay. I'm just gonna be.
The same piece as last year.
That's good.
How did the sledding go?
Okay.
The sledding event on Fox Hill, how did it go? Did it? Good. Did you take pictures? Awesome.
They're out on socials. So.
Oh, okay. Great.
So based on our conversation from last council meeting, is the council interested in supporting a no mow May resolution? Beth resurrected the one from a couple of years ago and sent it to us. It would only take a little tweaking.
In my opinion, as long as it's not, I don't think it should be city property. I think it should only be private properties.
Oh, no, yeah, that's what it
Okay.
is. And it's optional. It's not a mandate you have to.
No.
Yeah, it's just, it's a way to encourage city residents to hold off on the mowing. I've never made it the whole month of May without mowing my lawn because it becomes a hayfield. But I've certainly let it grow for a couple of weeks, and it encourages
I
the
think
flowers
I
and
think it's great as well. I was just worried that, it was gonna be the city properties as well, because that would be really hard on them.
Maybe,
But I think private is great.
maybe you can include the and or raise the blade initiative too with that, because some people they're gonna say, no, I'm gonna mow, but you can
right,
encourage them to raise. the
yeah, I mean,
blades, too.
people are free to mow their lawn. It's
Yeah.
just it's just us as a city saying this is something we support. And you're not gonna get penalized through the zoning office for letting your grass grow for the month of May.
What was the last
Joe
piece
to
of
back
that?
off for a month.
for that. The one that was previous that Beth brought up, I feel like there was a last item that was listed that said something like, unless it conflicts with the law of the city.
Okay, so, I mean, it's, Joe can answer this better than I can. So like, if it's, my understanding would be if it is, if it's impacting right of way, like something visible, like you can't see what's coming around the corner, or you know, it becomes a safety hazard, but that's city
Okay.
property. You have to maintain that, but on your own property. Joe, am I getting that correct?
That sounds appropriate.
Okay.
We're talking about your. You're just not more than May. I can't imagine you growing so high that it restricts visibility around the street. It's gonna
Right.
not look good, but it won't be this high.
No, it's not like snowbanks and not being able to see around
Right.
the snowbank.
Backyards.
So what do we have to do?
Oh, it's easy. You just tweak the
Just tweak it.
resolution. I'll take care of that and
Okay.
run it through Justin and make sure that it's all legally okay and ask for it to be added at our April council meeting. That's an easy fix. I also wanted to make everybody aware that I secured the smart room in the library for discussion with Jennifer Perry. Gentleman from, I keep forgetting his name. Thank you. I was just gonna go look for his name. On Friday, the 28th, it's just a working meeting and it is open to the public. But it isn't, it's just a way to discuss what the Clinton County Health Department has planned and in mind, and then talking about the food waste and recycling policy that we passed that's never been enforced, and just having a conversation to see if there's any way to find a pathway forward. So I just wanted to make the council aware of that. I already gave the information to Beth so that she can advertise for it. And that's all. I just want to make everybody aware of it.
I did go to the co-op today, and they do have a bucket there you can drop food waste off at the co-op too.
They have for a while. I'm pretty sure Jennifer Perry is their hauler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good sized garbage can.
Richard, do you have an answer for my question yet?
2/3 of it.
You have 2/3 of an answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Better than 1/3.
Lower last year's base by 250,000. And that was deliberately done by, leaving it lower for the budget. So that's part of it. The other part of it is we're $282,000 less collected at this time last year. This year versus last year. And that's due to property tax bills going out about a week late, which everybody heard about.
Yep.
But it was a printing issue we had to verify. The other $100 and some thousand I gotta look at, I think it's just different revenue accounts.
Okay.
Those are the two main reasons. It's $668,000 difference, and so there's 282, 252. 2/3 for the.
Okay.
I'll send out an email on the rest of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On the subject of revenue, sales tax and so forth, is it too soon to know if we're being impacted at all from slower Canadian traffic? I've been seeing other areas talking about Canadian traffic not coming over as much because of what's happening globally. What? Hi.
No, I just saw in the chamber newsletter, they put out some information about that today, information about car counts at the border,
Mhm.
which is something that US Border Protection releases, I think, on the month, and the chamber tracks that information, and it does look like for most border crossings in our area, I'm trying to remember now what the percentage was, but like around 16% less than what we would normally be seeing around this year. So that's not I don't know how that translates into dollars and spending, but that was just one benchmark that I had noted today that the chamber sent out around how many cars are coming down or going up.
Mhm.
The state sends out a sales tax report for every county in the whole state. And that won't be up until the end of the first quarter, end of March.
That's when they
Okay.
do the
So
correction, right?
once we see that, we'll see what the impact has been in the first quarter of the year.
Okay,
I can get the county numbers too. They get corrected in April, I think is when they send, the state sends their numbers out. Those are the real numbers. The state does that, or the county has. Every month they give us, they do their estimates that they've collected, so.
yeah, I would really like to see an update on that as soon as the information becomes available.
Did you see on the news, I was watching and few of the ski resorts were saying that, you know, you've got them, the Canadians that have bought season tickets,
Mhm.
they're coming down because they've already gotten their season, but they're not spending the money. They're just coming down, they're skiing and they're hightailing it. Because they're just, it's a matter of pride, I feel, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, I'm gonna have to go at 5:30 when he wants me to start, so if anybody had any, because we development has a few items on the agenda. If nothing's come up, I need to invite. At this point, I don't even think I want to be here, not be here.
I might have one, it came across me, from someone who is asking who is in charge of the sign at the beach? And does this get asked a lot?
We got gigged on it not too long ago.
Oh, I
Cause
don't,
we were 22 seconds, it was 22 seconds, right? It's supposed to be 30 seconds. We were against our own
It
code.
was less than 30.
Yeah, it was less than 30. I think it was 22. Somebody sat there and timed it.
oh gosh. Yeah, they just wondered who updates it and how does it get updated and
Our recreation program coordinator, actually, he
Okay.
updates it.
who's on it.
We, I think we have some kind of internal rules around what gets put up and on, and we tend to just keep it to related community and city events and messages. So that we
Okay.
don't kind of open the floodgates to everybody and anybody reaching out, but yeah, he manages it. If there's something that you'd like to inquire about getting put up and it relates to city business or, you know, community events or things, we can definitely put it up.
I think it was more about the timeliness of like making it current, like whatever it is, so
It was
that
not current.
for a long time, it was a little outdated, I think, so that's where it was coming from, but.
I think he just figured out how to do it through the wire. It's gotta have internet
Okay.
updated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he
we
just figured
recently
it out.
updated it, 'cause it was-
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there,
No,
so
no,
I think they'll be happy.
We had a couple of things there.
Well, and the sign still says Great Civic Center.
Like on the permanent part of the
Yeah.
sign, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the plan to
That would be
fix
more of
that?
Permanent
it'll take
marker.
a monetary investment to
Yeah.
change it, so we'll have to, we haven't, I guess, discussed, you know, how that sign would change and how we would take that off. Outside of sort of doing something that would cover up the Crate Center letters, I don't think it's, so, you know, Joe, if it's something that can be scraped off, how the letters are on there, or.
I've never studied how they were fastened.
Yeah, I need to do it, so it's something we, yeah. we can do.
Joe, we can do a road trip.
What's that?
Road trip.
Road trip, yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome Canadians.
Yeah. We're gonna take a shark.
We sat there and timed it.
That's really funny. I didn't know that, and I don't think it's this, I doubt it's the same person, but that's interesting.
I did see, Courtney, I did see your report on the parks projects and things like that. Anything you want to update us on that, in that regard?
Yeah, I wanted to provide just an update of where we are in terms of spending on our Parks Renewal Project. So I provided that report in your folders. Does anyone want a printed copy? Because I did bring printed.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
See, you made it worthwhile. There you go. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sure.
There, all right.
So this one includes the finalized cost for the Peter Flumet Park bathroom and site improvements. That project closed out, I believe it was in late fall. And so we're excited to, you know, reopen those facilities to the public in the spring. It looks really nice, and now the grass is gonna start growing. So the areas that pavement and tarmac were removed and now are replaced with seed will start coming in, and we're excited about those improvements in that park. Melissa Penfield will be completed. You noticed in the resolution notes, there's a change order that will be completed on May 12th. And so again, we're excited to reopen that facility to the public with an expanded area for community members to be able to utilize and rent for meetings and gatherings and things in the community. And so there's a few just small change order requests in terms of the time extension and a couple changes to the plumbing and electrical contract. And so that kind of leaves us with a balance of where we're at in this fund, and there's a surplus right now of just over $700,000. And so I think, as I've mentioned in some previous updates, that, you know, we now sort of the time to assess what happens next and what opportunities do we sort of have on the table, and based on projects that were proposed to be included in the first phase but didn't for various reasons, are we gonna, you know, how are we gonna move some of those forward, or do we want to swap those out for other priorities or other opportunities that we have that have since come up, you know, to fund certain projects? So I would like to, this is sort of a first memo update, just to give you a look at the finances, but I am sort of starting to obtain some quotes for other projects that have been discussed as part of maybe a phase 2, and I can bring those to the council so we can actually talk more in terms of cost estimates and real numbers to see what we could accomplish with the remaining funds in the parks project.
Well,
And then
it's coincidental, that's probably close to the amount for, say, a new place at South Acres, just saying.
it's a good thing I'm getting some quotes on.
Cause I'm gonna keep pounding it.
I completely agree. I think that a really good usage of that money would be playground equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's good to hear you say that. We're hearing the community say that. There's a great new opportunity that I'm excited to go after that just got announced out of the Office of Parks Recreation and Historical Preservation. It's a municipal parks and recreation grant specifically targeted to fund projects like playgrounds and other recreational facilities. I think it's a great opportunity for us to go after that. The match is a 90-10 match, which is
wow.
pretty great and better than the grant that we had applied for last CFA for the Melissa Penfield Park accessible playground. And we still have that application. It's pretty fresh, and it would be ready to go if that's something we chose to move forward and seek funding for that. But then we could also potentially look at other projects and opportunities too. So my goal is going to be to take this 700,000 and see how much we can maximize with it in terms of pairing it with other grants, community interest, things like that.
If we allocated the money that we're talking about right now towards new playground equipment for South Acres, where would we be in terms of updated playground equipment for other parks? Like, what parks still have yet to get that as part of the upgrades?
So out of the 5 parks in the plan, we updated playground equipment in Fox Hill, and then nothing else has been updated.
Okay.
So that would still leave Blue-Met, Melissa Penfield, South Acres, and the US Oval. And those are the 5 main parks included in this study. It should be called out. There are a few other much smaller parks throughout the city that do have some pretty old equipment as well, but I would recommend that we have our master plan, we've committed to implementing that, and that we sort of keep our focus there. But I was just reviewing the report again, and I looked at another table that was just community rankings of, what do I want to see improved in this park, and across the board, it's playground equipment or, a sport field usage or something like that. So
Pickleball court, that's super popular in the city.
pickleball, yeah,
Mhm.
We gotta look at getting people there safely too, especially South Acres.
yeah.
I mean, we don't have any crosswalks there for kids or there's a lot of elderly folks that live there too that want to go to the park. We don't have a crosswalk there.
Mhm.
I mean, we have to make it easier for folks to get there too. We can put beautiful
Mhm.
equipment there, but if they can't get there, it's not worth it. So
Yeah.
we have to look at more than just the equipment. And
Yeah.
we're gonna get pricing on, like, we were looking at this level and this level, so that we can look at 2 different variations.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do 2 parks versus 1.
Yeah, how do
We're
we
looking
keep
at a
this
bunch
in-
of things. It's really important that we do this, we just wanna make sure we get the best for what we can afford.
We have our bocce ball going in. I mean, that's been funded through
Right.
Billy Jones, correct?
Yeah, we have to there's still, just to manage expectations, we still have to work through some of the grant administration for
Right.
that. We don't have the money in hand yet, or a contract secured, for installation, but we have the money, not the money, we have the paperwork to initiate that grant process.
Right. Oh, I thought we had the money.
It's, as in, we don't have it in the bank account
Got it,
yet,
got it.
but it's pledged, committed.
Billy hasn't given the big check yet.
That, I think it has to be done first.
All right.
Thank you. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? We're gonna take a quick break and then we'll start the 5:30. We'll call the work session over.